She was called America's first female serial killer, a highway prostitute who left a trail of bodies along Florida's interstates. But was she a cold-blooded predator or a desperate woman pushed to the edge? Today, we're delving into the dark and complex story of AILEEN WUORNOS. Born in 1956 in Michigan, AILEEN's childhood was a relentless series of traumas. Her father, a convicted child molester, died by suicide in prison. Her mother abandoned her and her brother, leaving them with grandparents who were reportedly abusive. By her early teens, AILEEN was pregnant, sent to a home for unwed mothers, and forced to give up her child. Soon after, her grandfather kicked her out, and she began living on the streets, surviving through petty crime and sex work. This wasn't just a difficult start. It was a foundation of pain and mistrust that would shape the rest of her life. For years, AILEEN drifted across the country, caught in a cycle of arrests for minor offenses like forgery, robbery, and driving under the influence. She yearned for a normal life, a real connection. In 1976, she briefly married a wealthy, much older man, but her violent temper led to a quick annulment. Her life was a revolving door of transient relationships and run-ins with the law. In the mid-1980s, she landed in Florida, where she met Tyria Moore, a motel maid. For AILEEN, this was the great love of her life, the stability she had always craved. She supported them both through sex work, a dangerous profession that would soon turn deadly. The timeline of terror began in late 1989. On December 1st, the body of Richard Mallory, a 51-year-old electronics store owner, was found in a wooded area. He had been shot multiple times. This was just the beginning. Over the next year, 6 more men would be found dead along Central Florida highways. David Spears, a construction worker, Charles Carskadden, a part-time rodeo worker, Peter Seams, a retired merchant seaman whose car was found but whose body never was, Troy Burris, a sausage salesman, Dick Humphreys, a retired Air Force major and child abuse investigator, and Walter Gino Antonio, a truck driver. All the victims were middle-aged men. All had been shot. The police had a serial killer on their hands, but with few leads, the case was going cold. The media dubbed the unknown assailant the damsel of death. The key to breaking the case came from the killer's own mistakes. AILEEN and Tyria were seen driving one of the victims' cars. Sketches based on witness descriptions were released. Most importantly, AILEEN had left fingerprints on pawn shop receipts for items she'd stolen from her victims. The net was closing in. As police identified AILEEN as their prime suspect, they knew her relationship with Tyria Moore was the weak link. They found Tyria in Pennsylvania and offered her a deal. Help them get a confession, and she would get immunity. In a series of recorded phone calls, a scared and desperate Tyria pleaded with AILEEN to turn herself in. AILEEN, terrified of losing the only person she loved, confessed. She told Tyria she did it to protect her, that she never wanted her to be implicated. On January 9, 1991, AILEEN WUORNOS was arrested at a biker bar in Port Orange, Florida. The next day, she gave a full confession, claiming every single murder was an act of self-defense against men who had tried to rape or kill her during their encounters. The trial of AILEEN WUORNOS became a media sensation. Her first trial was for the murder of Richard Mallory. The prosecution painted her as a ruthless predator who robbed and killed for money. Her defense argued she was a victim, a woman who finally fought back after a lifetime of abuse. The key turning point was the revelation that Mallory had a prior conviction for attempted rape. This seemed to support AILEEN's claim of self-defense. However, the prosecution successfully argued that the level of violence, multiple gunshots, went far beyond self-defense, and in a shocking turn, AILEEN herself, frustrated with the proceedings, shouted in court, "I am a killer. I was raped, and I'm not going to have it put on me." Her outburst sealed her fate. The jury found her guilty, and she was sentenced to death. Following this conviction, AILEEN, perhaps feeling betrayed and abandoned, pleaded no contest or guilty to the other murders. She received 5 more death sentences. Her story wasn't over though. From death row, she became an outspoken figure. She gave numerous interviews, her story shifting and changing. Initially, she stuck to her self-defense claim, but over time, her narrative warped. She fired her lawyers, claiming they were conspiring against her. She began to say that the police knew she had killed in self-defense, but had covered it up to secure a high-profile conviction. Her mental state visibly deteriorated. She spoke of sonic pressure, of her head being controlled by outside forces. She begged to have her appeals dropped, stating she wanted to die. "I'm one who hates human life and would kill again," she chillingly stated in her final interview. The question of AILEEN WUORNOS' sanity became a central debate. Was she truly a psychopathic personality, as psychiatrists for the state claimed, or was she suffering from severe borderline personality disorder and PTSD, a result of her horrific past, as her defense team argued? Could someone who had endured such profound and relentless trauma truly be judged by the same standards as everyone else? Her case raises uncomfortable questions about the intersection of mental illness, trauma, and the justice system. Did the system fail her from the very beginning, long before she ever pulled the trigger? This story has been immortalized in books, documentaries, and most famously, The 2003 film Monster, for which Therese Theron won an Academy Award for her stunning transformation into AILEEN. The film portrayed her with a degree of sympathy, focusing on her desperate circumstances and her love for Tyria Moore. It forced audiences to look beyond the monster label and see the broken human being beneath. But this portrayal remains controversial. To the families of the victims, she was not a tragic figure. She was a cold-blooded murderer who took their loved ones away. They see the focus on her backstory as an excuse that overshadows the pain she caused. For them, men like Dick Humphreys, a dedicated child abuse investigator, and David Spears, a hardworking father, are the true victims whose stories are too often forgotten. On October 9, 2002, AILEEN WUORNOS was executed by lethal injection in Florida. Her final words were, "I'd just like to say, I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus, June 6th. Like the movie, Big Mother's Ship and all, I'll be back." It was a bizarre and rambling end to a tragic and violent life. The case of AILEEN WUORNOS leaves us with no easy answers. It forces us to confront the darkest aspects of human nature and the societal failures that can create a monster. Was she born evil, or was she made? It's a question that continues to haunt us, a chilling reminder of how a life can be shattered by trauma, and how that brokenness can shatter the lives of others. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. If you found this story compelling, please hit the like button and subscribe for more true crime analysis. Let us know your thoughts on the AILEEN WUORNOS case in the comments below. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.